The West is divided because Europe is afraid to take on Vladimir Putin. The reason is energy. A bulk of Europe's energy supplies come from Russia. We're talking about crude oil, natural gas and solid fossil fuels. Russia has been an old, reliable supplier. The first imports date to the Soviet era in the 1970s. As of today, 40% of Europe's natural gas comes from Russia. And that's a lot of dependence. And there are no easy substitutes. What do you think will happen if Russia cuts off supply? Europe will freeze, forced to brave the winter without heat. The sheer prospect spells horror for them. Europe is already suffering a shortage, reeling from its worst energy crunch since the 1970s. It began last year. In 2021, gas prices in Europe shot up by 600%. You heard that right, 600%. Prices spiked due to a shortage, and they blamed Russia for it. Let me tell you what the head of the International Energy Agency has said. And I'm quoting, "We believe there are strong elements of tightness in the European gas market due to Russia's behavior. I would note that today's low Russian gas flows to Europe coincide with heightened geopolitical tensions over Ukraine." So was Europe's gas shortage engineered? Did Russia reduce supply to gain leverage over Brussels? This is a moment of realization for the European Union. They fear being arm twisted. EU policymakers say Russia could cut supplies again and split Europe over Ukraine further. There are four distinct scenarios that Europe fears if Russia invades Ukraine. Number one is financial sanctions on Russia. Western powers could unplug Russia from the global financial system, and Europe does not like the sound of it, because Russian banks use dollars and euros for energy transactions. If Russia is sanctioned, the transactions will be blocked. Scenario number two, Russia could cut gas supplies itself. That would cripple Europe's energy systems, and that explains why they do not want to push Putin beyond a point. Scenario number three, sanctions against Nord Stream 2. It's a multi-billion-dollar gas pipeline from Russia to Germany. If Russia invades Ukraine, this project, Nord Stream 2, will die a slow death. The West will be compelled to sanction Nord Stream, and you know what that means for Europe. An $11 billion project going down the drain. Also future energy supplies. Scenario number four, Russia could cut off the Ukraine hub. Europe, you see, gets 1/3 of its Russian gas from Ukraine. The pipelines pass through Ukraine. This supply could become collateral damage if tensions escalate. So in all four situations, Europe will lose energy supplies from Russia, and that's why it is split over Ukraine. That's why some European countries do not want to pick a fight with Vladimir Putin. Russian energy supplies have hamstrung Europe, and the bloc only has itself to blame. It has failed to wean away from Russian energy. Europe has failed to replenish its gas and its gas reserves in the summer. But the bigger mistake was the failure to secure supply in the long term. For years, Europe has pushed for day-to-day spot pricing to buy gas. The better option is a long-term contract. Pick a supplier, fix a price, and extend a multi-year contract. But Europe does not do that. Last year, Vladimir Putin raised the same issue.
Over the past decade, step by step, systemic flaws have been laid in the European energy sector. It was they who have led to a large-scale market crisis in Europe.
To put it simply, Europe is caught between a rock and a hard place. If it backs Ukraine, it could lose Russian energy supplies. If it stays silent about Russia, it would lose face and moral high ground. The European Union would then have contributed to the weakening of a democratic state, maybe even its collapse. So what does Europe do? Look to the US for help. Washington is finalizing a plan. It wants to supply gas to Europe. But that is not going to be enough. The US, you see, has limited spare capacity. It cannot match the Russian supplies. So Europe has been forced to fire up its coal plants again, and that opens a whole new debate in countries preaching climate change to others. So if you're living in Europe, brace yourself for a tough winter, because the European leadership have been outplayed by Vladimir Putin. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.